Let's look at exponents with fractions and evaluating expressions with fractions. Okay, let's start off with exponents. And let's look at this. Now, what we want to do is we want to figure out what the base is, and since I have parentheses here, what is in the parentheses is my base. And then we take the base and we multiply by itself this many times. So this is expanded form, which is just the way I like to write it out so I can keep track of the math that I'm doing. So looking at my cancel law, there's no common factor between 1 and 2 except for 1. And I'm just going to multiply straight across. 1 times 1 times 1 is 1, and 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. And that's the numerical value, 1/8. Now I've got to look at the sign. Since I have a negative sign here, and there are 1, 2, 3 negative signs total, my final answer is going to be -1/8. Remember, the rule is if there's an odd number of negative symbols, the final answer is negative. Now, it's important that we use parentheses for two reasons. Not only here to indicate the negative symbol, but also to show that it's the whole fraction that is the base. If we were to look at something like this, this would just be a base of 1, not 1/2. And so this would be equal to 1/2. All right, let's look at a couple of other examples or situations that you might come across. Let me change this. Okay, so here we have 2/3 squared, and there's a negative symbol in front. Well, my base is not negative. My base is the 2/3. So I'm going to multiply the 2/3 by itself 2 times. I'm going to keep my negative symbol out here just so I don't forget it. But my base is 2/3. When I multiply 2 by 2, I get 4. 2 by 3, I get 9. And I can't use the cancel law here. And then I have one negative symbol. So my final answer is going to be negative. Now this is as opposed to having a base that's a negative value. Then negative 2/3 times negative 2/3 is going to be positive 4/9. So when we're multiplying or dividing fractions, we want to be really vigilant about our rules for multiplying and dividing signed values. Okay, now let's look at evaluating expressions. Let's say x is 3/4 and y is -1/3. Okay, how would we figure out x over y? Well, in this case, we're going to take our fraction bar to task and write this as x divided by y. So x is 3/4, and that's going to be divided by -1/3. And I'm going to keep a parentheses around my 1/3 so I can keep track of that negative sign. Okay, so when we divide fractions, KFC. Keep the first, flip the second, which is this also known as taking the reciprocal, and then use the cancel law and multiply. So I cannot use the cancel law here, so I'm just going to multiply straight across. 9 times 9, 3 times 3 is 9, and 4 times 1 is 4. Here's the product, or my answer to my multiplication problem. and I have one negative symbol. So my final answer is negative. Okay, now what if I had something like x times y? X, y, next to one another, just like this, means x times y. So x is 3/4, y is negative 1/3. Again, I keep these parentheses so I can help remember that negative symbol there. Now, before I multiply, I look to see if I can use my cancel law, and I can. I have a common factor between 3 and 3, up 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. And I'm going to rewrite my problem so I can keep track of it. 1/4 times 1/1. So the final answer is 1/4. Oh, no it's not. I would have gotten this wrong. It is negative 1/4. I forgot to bring down this negative symbol here, and that would have cost me points on a homework or a test or a quiz. So I have to be super, super vigilant about these negative symbols. Be careful about your bookkeeping. Remember to transpose everything that is necessary. You want to be able to write things again and again, and in some processes you really have to. But as you're writing, you want to make sure that you don't, like I did, carelessly leave off an important part of the problem. Okay, so just remember that when you are looking at exponents of fractions, you have to identify what the base is, and then just multiply by itself however many times the exponent tells you to. We want to use our rules for multiplying fractions, which is cancel if we can, and multiply all the numerators and multiply all the denominators. And then we also want to keep in mind our rules for signs. If we multiply an even number of negative signs, our final answer is going to be positive. And if we multiply an odd number of negative signs, our final answer will be negative.